like 30 motherfucking 6 episodes in. We like 30 motherfucking 6 episodes in. And you realize you got 24 more motherfucking episodes before you hit 60. Your mind go different. Okay? Alright? I hope y'all having a wonderful day. I really do. So, happy Friday. Happy Friday. I hope y'all tuning in to a happy Friday. How y'all doing, man? Happy Friday. Happy motherfucking Friday. Happy Friday. So, I hope you guys enjoyed the final episode of what happened in Central Park. As that wrapped up this week. Next week, we're going to dive in to another Black History segment. For that one might run for a while. So if you don't want to wait week to week to catch those Black History moments, go to Patreon. Become a member. And there you go. You can watch the whole thing. And then, speaking of that, y'all know I got the miniseries Anguished going on, right? So with Anguished, it's the same thing. It's dropping week after week. So episode 2 just dropped this week. But if you don't want to wait week after week and you want to watch the full 18-minute video, go to Patreon. Movies with Tay. And the reason why that Patreon is going to remain Movies with Tay, because it's not just movies. Like when I go over there, we're not just going to talk about movies that I watched. When you join up, because right now it's only just Mr. Bellamy who's on the Patreon, and that's perfectly fine. But when you join up on that Patreon, when we do live chats, we're going to be talking about my movies that I've done. We're going to be talking about movies that I've watched and did a podcast episode about. We're going to be just talking about all kind of movies. It's going to be movies, all right? We're going to talk about other people's projects and movies that they got to. We a community over there. Just like we on here. Okay? So, if you want to get in, then get in. Alright? So, on this happy Friday, your host with the most, the real Taylor Nicole, who back at it again with another episode for y'all. Before we get into the segment, before we get into the show, I want to personally thank everybody who has been supporting me and tuning in with me. Subscribe to me, showing me love. Whether it's on whatever part of my YouTube that you're liking, whatever part of my Apple Podcasting you're liking, whatever part of my Spotify you're liking, whatever part of my Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Threads, whatever part of any of my social media that you're liking, I, from the bottom of my heart, want to thank you guys. Because even if it's just one person, it still feels like the world to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's me being completely honest and humble. To be completely real, I did not expect to get this far in my social media adventure. Because my fear was that I was going to get scared and I wasn't going to want to continue. I was going to let numbers scare me. But to be honest, numbers don't scare me. Numbers don't scare me. Me not doing this work scares me. Me not going after what I said I want to do scares me. Numbers don't scare me. They don't at all. They don't. Now, it does motivate me to keep putting work out there and just keep seeing the progress and keep, hoping that the community will continue to grow over here. But that's just one thing I wanted to, I like to talk to y'all before I get into the episode and everything. So that's one thing I just wanted to say. So Movies with Tay is not just for YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. It's also for my Patreon. It's part of my brand, like how I say, the host with the most, how I just started doing Happy Fridays, the Happy Friday song, that all of that is part of my brand. And just like my bucket hat is a part of my brand. When I got a bucket hat on, I'm more than likely doing a podcast episode, or I'm just wearing it because I'm out and about. But when you see me turn this camera on and I got this headphone right here and this microphone on, or I said it all backwards. I'm sorry. I got this microphone on with this headset, with this head on, with this bucket hat on. Y'all know what's going on. Okay. Now, let's jump right into it. Today, we are dealing with episode 36, The Book of Clarence. The runtime is 2 hours and 9 minutes. The release date was January 12th of 2024. The directors of this is The Bullets. The producer is The Bullets, Jay-Z, James Laster, and Tendo Naginda. That's the producers. You can watch this film on Netflix, YouTube TV, Google Play Movies and TV, Apple TV, Fandango at Home, and Amazon Prime Video. Once again, that is Netflix, YouTube TV, Google Play, and Movies and TV, Apple TV, Fandango at Home, and Amazon Prime Video. In this movie, it was a nice. I can't say necessarily star-studded cast because some of these people are well known and some of them are not. But it was a beautiful cast, to say the least. The cast, and I'm probably going to be mentioning, as I said earlier, I will mention people, but I just wanted to mention these names because, why not? So, first off, we had Lakeith Stanfield as Clarence Annis Thomas. We had R.J. Seiler as Elijah, Caleb McLaughlin as Dirty Zeke, Tiana Taylor as Mary Magdalene, Anna Dope as Verinia, Eric Kofi Abrifa as Jedediah the Terrible, James McAvoy as Pontanus Pallet, and Nicholas Pennicott as Jesus. I probably butchered most of those names. I'm sorry. I just want to rattle off those names and give them some love up front. Y'all know I pick and choose how I do the introducing the cast. It is what it is. Dig with me or dig against me, but that's not my problem. But I did it earlier. I'm gonna do it again because I really do appreciate it. Please, if you guys love me like I love y'all, please make sure y'all like, comment, share, and subscribe. If you made it to this point, give me a thumbs up already. Because why not? Even if you don't make it all the way through the end, or if you skip past, after this point, if you skip past the recap and go straight to the conclusion, the note section, still give your girl a thumbs up. And hey, put something in the comments. Come talk to me, baby. Come talk to me, baby. Come on now. Now, before I start in and telling the film for y'all, I want to make this clear. So this movie, I'm gonna do my best to recap as much of it as possible. I got a lot of notes down, but realistically, I want to just kind of summarize each section because this movie was told in 3 parts. Okay, so I'm gonna try to summarize each part so that this episode doesn't go too far over because my notes and concluding section is long because I had a lot that I wanted to say. So we're gonna start out with section 1, which is called Book 1, The 13 Apostles. In that book of 13 Apostles, we meet Elijah and Clarence, who's racing against Mary Magdalene in a horse race, right? And Clarence borrowed money from Jedediah the Terrible for that race against Mary. Not only did he lose the horse, he lost the race to Mary too. However, Mary was cheating. She had her little people throwing stuff at Clarence and Elijah while they was on the horses and whatever. And Clarence ended up getting robbed by the little gypsy kids and all other kind of jazz. And now Clarence and Elijah are in this bad blood situation because they know they owe Jedediah the money for the race. Clarence goes home. Dirty Zeke takes Clarence and Elijah home, and Clarence goes home to his mother, Amina, who's played by Marianne Jean Baptiste, who basically tells him, so Clarence has an issue with his brother Thomas, his twin brother Thomas, because he feel like Thomas traded up on him and his mama and left him and his mama when she needed them the most. And his mama tells Clarence basically like, your brother chose a path and you have to accept that. And basically, just letting him know, like, you need to focus on getting laid. I swear to God, that's basically what she said. You need to focus on getting laid. So make sure you get his gift to that girl so you can get laid. Um, so Clarence and Elijah get taken to go see Jedediah the Terrible by Dirty Zeke. And we find out that Clarence has 29 days and 22 hours to get Jedediah his money back, or Jedediah gonna take them both out. So Clarence decides to go see John the baptism guy, who was played by David Alowa Alowo Alowo. And basically John tells Clarence, like, you want to be baptized because you think that's gonna save you from getting murdered by Jedediah. That's not gonna work. It's just not. You need to, basically he was telling me, you need to start doing the right thing. You need to be on the up and up. You need to be a man of faith, a man of God. And Clarence is like, I don't believe in that jazz. So, but I just need you to baptize me so this man don't kill me. And John, like, that ain't gonna work. But John is the funny part in the movie because John ducks him in the water and just holding his head underneath the water. And Elijah, like, okay, let him up. Like, what are you doing? Let him up. But you gotta go watch the movie because that's why I'm kind of speeding through it, because I want you to go watch the movie because it's so much in that movie that even with me recapping it, you still need to see it for yourself. But let's move forward. So we could later find out from John that Clarence is in love with Jedediah's little sister, Verenia, and Clarence is really he's trying to impress Verenia. So all this stuff he's doing is to try to get her attention and try to impress her. So Clarence, he goes to see Verenia. They have a cute little flirty little moment, and while he's visiting Verenia, he basically kind of asks her if she can potentially get her brother to leave him the hell alone and not kill him. And she like, that ain't gonna work. I don't know what else to tell you. That ain't gonna work. And uh, after after that, they in the beginning of the movie there was this dirty ass white man that interrupted them while they was racing Mary Magdalene. Where they ran into that dirty ass white man again after they went to go meet with Verenia. While they was on their way to like that. So the place they were going to is very similar to what we have today as a hookah bar. That's where they went. It's like they went to like a little hookah bar, but back then it was weed. It wasn't like tobacco. I don't think. I think it was weed is what they were really smoking. And while they're sitting there, Clarence has an epiphany. He gets a little light bulb, and he's like, "Ooh, what if I become the 13th apostle?" And Elijah like, "Man, that shit ain't gonna work." But Clarence like, "Bro, this might be the only way to get Jedediah off our back." So he, goes to approach and go talk to the other apostles to try to become one of the apostles. When he gets there, he tells them what he's trying to do. They all get to laughing. And then Judas, who's played by Michael Ward, shows up while they're in there kikiing it up and laughing at him. And he pretty much tells them, tell me why you should be part of the apostles. And he gets to breaking off all these things. And his brother Thomas intervenes and is like, you're not selfless. You're not this. You're not that. Like you're basically a nobody. You don't need to be a part of the apostles. You don't have what it takes. And they start having like a little brother rivalry, if you will. Well, Judas is like, if you want to be a 13th apostle, you need to go see Asher the Torturer, who's played by Babs. I can't pronounce that last name, so you will see it on the screen. And he needs to go and get the slave gladiators freed from Asher. So Clarence, he goes sees Asher and thinks thinks it's the easiest thing to get Asher to give up the slaves. And Asher like, nah, bro, you either gonna pay me for him or you gonna fight for him. Which one you want to do? And Clarence like, I guess I'll be fighting for him. So Asher decides it's too easy for him to fight. It's not a fair match for him to fight all of them. So he's gonna pick the best one that they got. And Barabbas is the big man on campus. And I do apologize. I did not take down Barabbas's name. Hold on. Bear with me. Give me a brief moment. I'm going to look up and see what Barabbas's name is because I want to give him a shout out too because I liked his character in the movie. Barabbas was played by that's Goliath. Barabbas was played by Omar Sy. That's who Barabbas was played by. Anyway, so that's who Clarence has to fight. Is Barabbas, and he hanging in there. Barabbas was kicking his ass here and there, and he was kicking Barabbas. They was going back and forth to keep it a buck. It was going back and forth, but when it came down to it and showed that Clarence was not going to lose to Barabbas, not one way or another. He was that determined not to lose. He wins the battle, but Asher's not a man of his word, and he didn't want to free Barabbas. He wanted to free all the other ones. He was cool with that, and Clarence was like, "No, you said I can have them all," and he's like, "Well, just take Barabbas. You can't get nobody else, but you can have him." And Barabbas is like, "I don't care." And Clarence is like, "Well, what the?" So he gets one freed, and he goes back, and basically they try to still play him and act like he ain't he's not worthy of being an apostle because he couldn't complete that task. And him and his brother have another argument, and basically his brother disowns him and talks down to him, and then, Clarence still feeling down on himself at this point. Like, dang, like, nigga, damn. That's how you feel? So, while they're in that, after they have their argument, Clarence has this breakdown. And oh, by the way, when he went in there, he whooped Judas's ass, and Judas needed an ass whooping because he knew that was a death sentence that he signed for Clarence, sending him to go try to get those gladiators out, right? Well, Clarence has like this little breakdown during that conversation, and he basically tells Zeke and Barabbas and Elijah, like, there is no God, there is no Messiah. Y'all keep believing in this person who's non-existent. There's no God, there's no Messiah. Like, that's not real. And because of that, he gets another light bulb. Ding! And he thinks, I could just pretend to be the Messiah. Not only can I pretend to be the Messiah, I can get money from people for pretending to be the Messiah. So now we go into book 2, the new Messiah. So in book 2 in the new Messiah, at this point, this is where Clarence, Zeke, Barabbas, and Elijah all help Clarence pull off this facade that he's the new Messiah, and he tricks everybody in his and I forget what part. I think it was in Jerusalem. Is where he tricks all of them. The real Jesus is from Nazareth. If you don't know the Bible, I'm not gonna tell you. Because I don't know who you believe in. But anyway, so in the new Messiah book 2 in the new Messiah, he starts collecting money from everybody. He's performing fake miracles and tricking people into believing he's the new Messiah, and it's working for him. However, he starts to feel guilty about what he's doing, but he still keeps doing it because he needs the money to pay Jedediah off. But what ends up happening is he makes all this money from all these speeches, and his brother Thomas even comes to try to see him and tries to tell him that he needs to stop pretending to be the Messiah because he's not the Messiah and he needs to stop. And Clarence is like, motherfucker, there ain't no Messiah. How many times I gotta tell you that this man ain't real? I don't care what you talking about. He ain't real. So he bans Clarence, tells him to get away from him. So, um, at this point, Clarence goes to oh, not Clarence. Jedediah goes to one of the speeches and he realizes that Clarence is making money off these people. So he's like, maybe I need to add interest to the money that he owed me since he's making all this money off these people, you know. So Clarence ends up going to go see Asher again. This time he takes every dollar he got from those people and he frees all of the gladiators from Asher. He gets them all freed, right? And Elijah was like, "Man, what the hell? Like, nah, dude, I ain't trying to do this shit." Um, but he does it. Now, Clarence goes to see Verinia again, and this is where we learn that they have a love connection. They just both afraid to speak on it. They have a love connection, and you got to watch the movie to figure out how you know they got a love connection. But Clarence tells Verinia that he loves her, he's in love with her, and he invites her to come out with them that night. You know, even though he feel like she's taken and she got a man or whatever the case may be. So she don't necessarily say yes that she'll go, but she gives that implication that she will. Verinia looks up and realizes that Goliath and Samson are watching Clarence because they work for Jedediah, and Jedediah wants his motherfucking money, or he wants Clarence ass dead. And she tells him, "You need to run." He, runs and takes off, and uh, gets up out of there, runs off. While he's running from them, Mary Magdalene is getting stoned to death, if you will, because of her whorish ways. They say Mary had been sleeping with the Romans and people of Nazareth. Like they call her whorish ways. Elijah tries to intervene and protect Mary, but they're still stoning their ass. They stoning him and her. They don't give a damn. They stoning them. And while they're doing that, Jesus comes and he saves both of them, Elijah and Mary Magdalene. And he heals Mary, and he calls out the Jezebel and the donkey smasher. I forget the man's name, but he calls them out for their wrongdoings. But not the Jezebel. He don't call her out directly, but he asked about her name, and she said, "Yeah, what what they got to do with you?" He like, "You will soon find out about your name, if that makes sense." So you read between lines, and then the donkey dude, the donkey smasher, um, is her husband, and he was doing nasty things with the animals. Basically, is what he was doing. So Elijah tries to go run and tell Clarence, like, bro, this cat is real, son. Jesus is real. The Messiah is real. And Clarence is like, no, he's not. You're just hallucinating. Like, you're tripping. Calm down. And he trying to tell him, nah, bro, no, 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 no. So Clarence still tells him, Jesus is fake. The Messiah is fake. I don't want to hear that. Get out of here. Well, we find out that Judas has been plotting, as we all know if you read the Bible. We know Judas always had it out for Jesus. Well, Judas starts plotting against Clarence, so it seems. So now he's plotting against Clarence first, right? And while they got the screen on him, Clarence and his people, they go to what we now would call a club. So they had this little kickback. They kicking it, having a good time. They dancing. And Verinia, she comes. They have a good time, and then they explore this newfound moment. They kicking it. They having a good time. Hopefully, the dance clip is showing of them kicking it and having a good time. Well, they Verinia and Clarence end up sharing a kiss, and Verinia, she felt herself losing herself. If ladies, you know what that means. She felt herself losing herself with Clarence, so she darted out of there. Well, Clarence went after her and ran into her brother, Jedediah, and Goliath and Samson. And Jedediah tries to take out Clarence by having Goliath and Samson try to, get at him. That didn't work too well because Barabbas chin check both the motherfuckers. But while they were in their little squirrel, if you will, the Romans pull up. The white folk, the Romans pull up. And when they pull up, they pulled up looking to collect all of the ones who consider themselves the Messiah. And Clarence was one of those who considered themselves a Messiah, so they were coming to collect him. And Jedediah tries to, stand up for him. Barabbas tries to stand up for him. And well, Barabbas didn't try. He did. Because that little short little midget man thought he was about to try to do something to Barabbas. And Barabbas was like, nope, not today. And what they did to Barabbas was kind of messed up. But Barabbas had told them previously. So the reason why Asher didn't want to give up Barabbas is because Barabbas was immortal. Nothing you can do to Barabbas would kill him, except for his Achilles. And I think it was his left Achilles, if I'm not mistaken. And so go watch the movie. I won't say what they did to Barabbas. Just go watch it. Anyway, so after they did how to do what they tried to do to Barabbas, after they tried that, it didn't, whatever. So Jedediah steps in again. He tries to intervene from them taking Clarence. But however, old boy threatened to kill Clarence's sister, Verenia. So Jedediah didn't have a choice but to step to the side and let him take Clarence. Because you're not going to kill my sister over this man. It is what it is. He owed me money anyway. So they end up taking Clarence. They didn't do anything to Verenia, but they did end up taking Clarence. This is where we now get into book 3, the crucifixion. And in book 3, Clarence has to stand trial for his crimes he's committed, which I don't know what crimes that was besides being the fake Messiah, but they didn't know he was the fake Messiah. They just assumed he really was a Messiah, or at least he pretended to be one. So they make him explain his story. And he basically tells them, I have never been a real Messiah. I've been faking this entire time, but I've been doing it so I can impress this girl that I love and try to get with this girl I love, but it don't work. And they like, okay, to prove you're not the Messiah, go walk your ass on that water over there. Go walk on that goddamn water and show us you're not the Messiah. And Clarence goes to go try to walk along the water, and he don't sink. He don't drown. He actually is able to walk on the fucking water. And Clarence is confused because he's like, what the, like, oh no. And the guy, Ponius, I think it's how you pronounce the name. Ponius is like, bro, what the hell? Now I gotta really crucify your ass because I wasn't going to. I just assumed you really weren't a real Messiah and you were gonna drown. Now I gotta really crucify you. But he claimed he wasn't gonna let him drown, but I'm gonna get to my notes in a second. Let me get through the recap. So now Clarence is thrown into the jail until it's time for him to stand for the crimes he committed, which wasn't really no crimes, but whatever. Well, he did technically commit some crimes, perjury and all the kind of things, but his brother comes to see him. Thomas does, and they exchange a brotherly, love conversation. And Clarence is like, all he can really tell his brother is like, bro, I love you, but I don't know what else you want me to say. And Thomas is like, I feel like this is my fault because had I never done you the way I did you, you wouldn't have never went this route. You would have never went down this hill. And that's that. Verenia comes to see him. He's still salty with Verenia because he felt like she set him up. Because when she ran outside, it just so happened that Jedediah was outside. So he felt like Verenia set him up. So he wasn't really fucking with her until she explained to him that the reason why she really ran out, it had nothing to do with her trying to set him up. Which is true. She had that. She fell for him, during that kiss. And she knew that she really, truly liked him. So, her running outside had nothing to do with her knowing her brother was outside. She didn't know. Clarence, he like, all right, cool, whatever. I believe you. Now, they share their little connection while he behind bars. And the crazy thing is, y'all, before all that happened, before old girl came to see him, we see the Romans want Clarence to give Jesus up, or the Messiah. And Clarence is like, nah, I ain't doing none of that. You hear me? And they like, all right, well, it's either death or give Jesus up. Which one you want? He like, I'll just choose death. And they like, all right, death it is. Well, the Messiah runs into the old dirty man, dirty white man that's played by Benjamin, dirty white man. His name is Benjamin. He's played by Benedict Cumberbatch. Um, and Jesus, gives, blesses him with with coins that come out of his hand. So he make money out of his hand, money coming out of his hand. So he goes to these people and he has them do him up one. He have them make him look nice and everything. And uh, now he feels like he's the Messiah. He's pretending to be the Messiah now because everybody think he Jesus. Because the lady said he looks just like Jesus, and the other lady like, who? You don't know what the fuck Jesus look like, stupid. So now everybody uh think that he Jesus, think that he the Messiah. So he run around with this idea that he's the Messiah, right? So now we see now we see Clarence is getting whipped while he's carrying a cross all the way up these long, long, long sets of stairs. And as he's going up these long, long sets of stairs, he's being whipped by the employees, if you will. They beat the shit out of him. He finally gets all the way to the top, and they nail him to the cross, hands and feet, and they, hang him up on the cross. And Elijah walks up to Clarence's feet, and Clarence tells him to not fear because God is on their side. God is there with him. So don't fear, anything. I'll be fine. And as he says that, um, Elijah walks away from Clarence as he says that, and one of the Romans goes to take what I learned last night was called the Spear of Destiny, but it wasn't at that moment. It wasn't the Spear of Destiny yet because Jesus hadn't been stabbed with it. But they stabbed Clarence in the side of his rib with it, so he would bleed out to death. So he wouldn't take forever to die, basically. And Clarence, of course, Clarence dies. They put Clarence's body in this hollow tomb, if you will, and Jesus goes to Clarence's body and he resurrects Clarence, brings him back to life. And he says, with one simple touch and a few simple words, he touches his face and he goes, "Rise, Clarence, son of Amina." And he brings Clarence back to life. And when he brings Clarence back to life, the movie ends with Clarence getting a light bulb on top of his head. Ding, 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 ding. So that's how the movie ends up ending, is in that notion. That's how the movie ends. So, for a short movie recap, basically, Clarence goes on a spiritual journey while trying to win over the heart of a woman that he loves, and also to assure his brother that he is actually someone, that he's not a nobody. And he goes, and when he goes on that journey, he finds himself at a real spiritual warfare. Okay, so that's basically the synopsis of the movie. Um, in a short one sentence form. So, now that I concluded the film, let's talk about our notes. Okay? So in my notes, there were a few things that I didn't mention in the recap that I'm going to mention in the notes. So, the funny little racist skits / moments in the movie, such as "you fit the description" scene, took me out because I said I know that's not in the Bible, but it took me out because that had me cracking up. Um, in a way, the movie's like a updated black version of I forget which book it is, so I don't want to mention a book version, and I don't know the exact book that I'm thinking of trying to say, but it's like an updated version of a certain portion of the Bible, to say the least. That's what it is. Um, in a way, the movie also kind of focused on unanswered questions that many people may ask when they read the book, or many people may have before they read the book. Um, so some of them they may ask out loud, and some of them they may ask silently to themselves. One thing that I'm talking about in particular is when Clarence went to go see Mother Mary, which is the Virgin Mary, who was played by Alfred Woodard, by the way. Um, he went to go see her, and he asked all these questions about Jesus, and didn't believe none of what she said to him. He felt like all of it was a lie. And that's how a lot of people are. A lot of people don't believe that Jesus is real. A lot of people don't believe that none of the stuff that was told in the Bible has any type of real gratification or connection at all. Like how Clarence was in the film is how a lot of people are to this day. And there's also people who are like the Virgin Mary and other people who believed in the tale that all that stuff about Jesus was real. Now, at the end of the movie, Clarence stated, because Clarence used to said throughout the whole entire movie stated that he doesn't believe he doesn't believe in God. He believes in knowledge. Well, at the end of the movie, he said, his brother was like, I can't force you to believe, and he told his brother, he said, I don't believe, I know. Like he's like, I know, I don't believe anymore. I know that that was Jesus that did that. I know that that was God that did that, right? So that's kind of what the movie was doing to me. It was like asking questions that most people are afraid to ask on those unknown answers. Um, when Clarence knew he was doing wrong, but was too afraid to turn back around because he knew he was doing wrong. That is so many people to this day. That when we know we're doing wrong, but we're so far gone in our wrongdoing that we're scared to turn back around and just admit that we were wrong and suffer the consequences that come with the conclusion and the acceptance of being wrong, that we just keep doing wrong, and it just keeps leading us down this dark rabbit hole. Clarence started becoming a man before his own eyes. Everything that Verinia and his mother tried to tell him, and even his brother Thomas tried to tell him, he started to become in front of his own eyes, and it scared him. He started becoming selfless. He started learning the ways of Jesus without even knowing he was doing it. You know, um, one thing that I thought was a little weird is, and this seems to be an ongoing thing with the Romans, because even if you go to art museums to this day, when you go see the Roman cathedral or the Roman cathedral portion of the museum, they always got Roman statues standing out there with little bitty, manhood. And they had that in the movie. I'm like, and I felt like Clarence. I was like, I see why y'all mad if that's because that clearly must be true. Because Clarence was like, like, dang, why all these naked statues in here? Like, what, you know what I'm saying? But, I thought it was funny how they did the joke on whether Jesus is white or black in this film because in the film, the real Jesus is black. In the real world, people still argue whether he's black or whether he's white. The man could be Hispanic for all we know. He could be Dominican, Puerto Rican, or Cuban for all we know. But, some read the Bible to its entirety and state based on what it describes Jesus as in the Bible as that he is of a black descent. When the movie, they played on the idea that everyone assumed Jesus' identity because no one knew who the real Jesus was. No one knew who the real Messiah was. So everybody in that movie just assumed the Messiah's identity because nobody knew. So you had white people pretending to be the Messiah. You had black people trying to be the Messiah. That's basically what the movie was doing, playing on white and black. So when they had Mr. Benjamin, aka Benedict Cumberbatch, play the white Jesus, it made sense. But every time Clarence got that light bulb above his head, filled with an idea, it was given to him from God to help him on his path. Cause see, Clarence's path was already written, and basically that light bulb was a message coming from God to Clarence, basically. And Clarence, he might have not heard the message clear enough, which could be why he was going the ways he was going. Because maybe he didn't hear the message clear enough. Cause that can happen. We can get a distorted message because we're not listening good enough. But I'm preaching to the choir. Let me back up. When that lady said, "You look like Jesus," and she was like, "You don't even know what Jesus looked like," I died laughing because the amount of people I hear say that cracks me up. Um, when old buddy told Clarence to walk on the water, and Clarence did just that, and Clarence didn't drown. When he told Clarence he wasn't gonna let Clarence drown, I think he was capping, because I think he would have let Clarence drown. I don't know why he lied and said he wasn't gonna let Clarence drown, because I believe he was going to let Clarence drown. I wholeheartedly believe he was going to let Clarence drown. I don't think that he was not going to let Clarence drown. I'm sorry. I think that he was going to let Clarence drown. So I think that's why God did not, or the Messiah did not let Clarence sink, because I think he knew that he was going to let Clarence drown. That's what I think. And I know what you're thinking. Why didn't he just make him be able to swim? I don't know, but I know that he probably felt like that Clarence was going. He was going to let Clarence drown, so he didn't want that to happen. I believe that at the end of the movie, we were supposed to get a idea that no one knows what the real Messiah looked like. Everybody just speculated. Only the disciples or the apostles, only they knew what Jesus looked like. Now, there's a lot of people who wrote books about who Jesus was or what they believe Jesus was about, but we don't know if any of those people really truly knew Jesus, or if they were just writing a fictional tale to tell us. But what we do know, by the end of this movie, what you do know is that if whom and whatever you believe in, if that faith is strong enough, you hear the correct guidance, you hear the correct path and the correct terminology to use. You hear it, regardless, right? So there's that. With concluding the film, this movie is it's so hard to explain, it's so hard to recap, that it's really a movie that you need to really watch for yourself, because the way this movie was written and laid out, if you never picked up a Bible in your life, if you've never heard anything about the tales of Jesus in your life, you're going to be confused by everything I just recapped in this story. None of it will make sense to you. You'll be blind by what I'm talking about, because a lot of people who heard the recap know what part of the Bible that I'm talking about. They know what part to connect to. They know. So if you haven't picked up a Bible, pick up one. I need to pick up another one. Um, like I said, the way that the movie depicted is as if, you know, the story is telling you exactly how Jesus, the Messiah, the Romans, and even Judas were. You know, it's basically what it was doing. You got to really watch this movie for yourself if you want to be able to um, put yourself in the shoes that I'm in. I do not want to put my religious beliefs or anything like that, or push anything like that on people. So don't think that's what I'm doing. I'm not telling you to believe in God if you don't believe in God. I'm not pushing my religious beliefs on anyone. Okay. Um, this movie can definitely make you question some things if you already aren't inquisitive on your own. And as they say, yes, this movie can be deemed sacrilegious, but honestly, it was hitting some nails on the head. No pun intended. It was definitely hitting some nails on the head, because there was a lot of things that Clarence questioned. And I know they say don't question God, but I think that's incorrect. I think we're supposed to, because that's the only way he can give us an answer. How can you not question your creator and not and just fall blindly? Only way you're going to know is to ask, correct? So I personally don't think that there was anything wrong with people questioning God and asking, because that's the only way he can give you an answer. If you don't ask, he don't know that you need to know. Okay? Now, y'all know I like to rate that film. And because I actually truly enjoyed this movie, I gave it a 10 out of 10. I would definitely go back and rewatch that movie. I would definitely go back and rewatch that movie. That is a good ass movie. You hear me? I liked it. I don't care what nobody say. As I said earlier, if you have never read the Bible, uh, never heard of the Bible, the movie would actually give you the black version of what Jesus was. in so many ways. It's telling you in the blackest form about Jesus. You just got to catch it. You just got to pay attention to it. It shows you how Jesus was selfless and how he put himself in harm's way, or how he, would go great lengths to protect people. But in a way, though, Jesus didn't. In the movie, Jesus didn't give himself up to save Clarence in time. But I guess that was his way of testing to see how far Clarence really believed in the Messiah. Like, are you willing to die for me to resurrect you, to show you that I'm real? And Clarence he went to those limits, you know. And uh, in this movie, it showed you that a lot of people are willing to go great lengths just to be someone when others think that they are not. When other people think they're not nobody, they will go to great lengths to prove that they are somebody until they are met with their match to show them that that was not the way. And that's what happened to Clarence in this movie. Um, every bit of this movie spoke of some type of information that was given in that good book. That's what people call it. They call it the good book. So every bit of this movie, there was something from that book in this movie. Once again, if you ain't ever read a Bible or never heard of the Bible, you won't know what I'm talking about. Um, this movie will show many things, but one thing in particular, it showed how love can truly make a person do crazy things. It showed how it can be how it could put you in some pretty how belief, religion, love, sacrifice can put you in some real fucked up situations if you don't try to steer with a clear mind, if you don't try to have some type of faith, some type of knowledge, some type of strength, some type of belief in you when you're going through your darkest and deepest battles, that you can really lose yourself, you know? And the end of the movie was kind of sad, but not sad at the same time, because you got to see the resurrection, if you will, and it'll make you wonder how many messiahs were there really? Is there really just one Messiah? Is there multiple messiahs? And I know I got a lot of religious people who follow me, so don't take this the wrong way. This is just what I noticed that people probably would ask when they watch this movie. Is like, well, dang, how many messiahs were there really? Did Jesus give, a little bit of what he had to another person for them to be considered a messiah? You know, um, as I said earlier, I know that they say don't question God, and I'm firm in my belief, but I do understand that in order for me to get an answer, I have to question it. That's the same way it works in school. In order for you to get an answer, you must ask a question. Doesn't mean that you're doubting anything, because it's okay to question, but it's not okay to doubt. You know, if you say you believe, you shouldn't have a doubt in anything, but you have the ability to ask a question to anything, because that's what you're supposed to be. If you don't ask a question, you don't better understand. You're not seeking to gain knowledge. Okay. Um. One thing that I think the movie also pointed out was, although some people don't understand your path that you have to follow, God knows your path and plan. Or whomever you believe in knows your path and your plan. And not everyone knows that. Not everyone's prepared to walk that path and that journey with you. And that's okay. It is what it is. But whatever you believe in and whomever you believe in, have the ability to have the strength and the power and the courage to walk through that to its completion, till its final form. Okay? In the end, in the end, in the end, they crucified Clarence because they could not control him. Was not because of what they thought he stood for. It was because they could not control him. When they crucify you in the motion because they cannot control you. Crucifixion comes from control. Point blank in the period. Okay? Thank you everybody for tuning in. Thank y'all for watching. Make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe, share, and show your girl some love. It's been your host with the most with another episode for y'all. Argue with your mama. I'm out. Peace. Oh, also, love, respect, and God be with you.